Hey everybody, it's Mike Balzano back again for another edition of Trade Talks, Unlocking the Experience. This is our go-home show. We're rampaging towards Las Vegas, September 4th through the 6th. And boy, do we have a great guest to take us there. He is a leader. He is a Six Sigma expert. I'm going to find out if he's a black belt or not after this. I should have done that beforehand. My bad. A founder, a native Californian, part-time Hawaiian, an innovator, a visionary. He's a husband, a father. He's a host. He's a fitness freak. I've been seeing his pictures on Facebook. It's amazing what he's up to these days. Uh, he's a serial hugger, and I will talk about that. A keynote speaker, and he's going to be a keynote speaker for us at the experience coming up next month. Most of all, we know this gentleman as a CEO of Next Gear Solutions and a president at CoreLogic. Please welcome the one and only Mr. Garrett Gray. How you doing, Garrett?
Hi, good. How are you?
I told you it was going
That
to be
was
over
that
the
was an
top.
that was an introduction.
It was gonna be over the top. I mentioned the hug. I met you about a year or so ago, and then we finally really met at Interconnect, and we had an awful hug. I don't know if you remember that. I came up to
Did
you.
we
We
have
both
an
were
awful
like, and I consider myself to be a hugger too. So I was a little offended by myself on that. So I don't know if you remember that we did a little lap and we did a take two, and we got it.
we had to
Good.
do too? That's okay. Yeah.
So thanks for taking some time today.
You
I
never
appreciate
know.
it.
I my default is a hug, but it's not always appropriate.
I think people don't like to hug. We don't want them. We don't need to know them, right? You got to be happy and fun in this life. And I'd say you've had such a great career in the restoration industry and insurance and all that stuff. And it's just this show is just about taking a few minutes to learn a little bit about you and lead into our event in the experience coming up. Now, you're a native California. You're born in Valencia. Is that right?
Yeah, if anyone's familiar with Magic Mountain, that was
Yep.
our claim to fame.
Yep.
We had a Six Flags Magic Mountain that everyone would go to. But yeah, I was born in Van Nuys, California,
Got
but
it.
was pretty much raised in Valencia.
Have you spent all of your life there? I know you travel a lot, but have you been homes just there or no?
No, so essentially, once I turned like, oh gosh, like 18, no, like 20, maybe 20, I moved to Seattle for a little bit, and then I moved to Mississippi. And that was like supposed to be very temporary and ended up being 15 years. So I spent a lot of time in the South.
Yeah.
And that's actually where Next Gear was born and sort of grew up, was in Oxford, Mississippi.
I did a little research on you. I believe we'll talk a bunch about next year, but I did a little research. Said you didn't go to school, you didn't go to college. You wanted to just go start making money and being
Oh, you just
successful.
you just you just took away my surprising
Oh no,
fact.
I don't know what's going on. I don't
So
know
I'll
what's
have to,
going
I'll
on.
have to think of another one.
We're
But
gonna
yeah,
we're
you're
gonna
right.
we're gonna ignore that. Everybody ignore that question. All I know is you started with a small LA company in insurance and restoration in 2004. And my
Yeah.
question for you is, was it did you just happen to take that job, or did you really want to get into restoration?
Yeah, no, I think for like a lot of people, you either were born into restoration or you kind of fell into restoration, and I was in the fell into restoration category. Essentially, I had a job that I was up for that I actually was like overconfident about, thinking for sure I was going to get the job. Of course, I was the most qualified, young and kind of hubris.
Mm.
And someone recommended to me, like, hey, like, since you're in between jobs, you should probably have a backup option. And they gave me kind of well, actually, technically, my mom was working at this restoration company, so there's a family component to this too. And so she's like, you should, this is a director of marketing position that's opening up at a small restoration company. You should take a look. So I really took the interview as more of a kind of a backup, but not ever expecting that I would need it. And sure enough, the first job that I interviewed for, they didn't want me, and so I took my backup option, and so that's how I kind of fell into restoration.
You know, that's fascinating, and I'm not surprised because I've done this. I was a publisher of R&R for a couple of years, but I've done this thing about 23 times, and everybody who goes on the show says, I got into restoration eventually because I wanted to help people. Either they wanted to
Yeah,
help people, or it seems like the good people kind of fell into it, and that's why I'd put you in that category for sure. Um, it's just an
I,
industry of
I
this.
I didn't even understand like how much of a help that this industry brings, and so
Right.
I can't claim any sort of uh, um, you know amazing reason that was already ready to go help people. I honestly just fell into it and then realized what a great industry it was, and what, kind of impact people could have on people's lives.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And that's it. Like I said, you fell into the right spot. You started a consulting company in 2007 called Shift.
Yeah.
What was the
So
base of that? Yeah.
really what happened is when I got to the restoration company, I remember the first day walking in, it was like pandemonium. Like back then, like everything was on paper. People were writing notes on manila folders, and like adjusters would be calling, for an update, and I'd watch people run around the office. And this particular office I fell into was a two-story office. So they were running up and down stairs asking people, "Do you have the file? Do you have the file? Do you have the file?" And so it when I first looked at it, I saw paperwork stacked on people's desks, this high. And I went to the owner of that company and said, "Gosh, if I do my job and I go bring you a bunch of extra work, and let's say I, double your volume, like how will you handle it? You already have paperwork stacked so high." And he responded, "Oh, they can always stack it higher. Just go get the work," which is like typical restoration kind of attitude. So I first decided I wanted to learn about the industry. So I went and got on a truck. I started doing everything from Blackwater response calls to mold, and getting in full protective gear, and working in the really hot California summer, doing some of that stuff. So I learned from the ground up, like how this was operating, and I just got really obsessed with how to digitize it and make it less paper reliant. And my kind of thought was I could make this company more marketable if they had a faster pipeline of data to all the different stakeholders. And so that was kind of what sparked the journey of trying to figure out how to streamline this whole process.
I can imagine. And yeah, I'm obviously old enough to know that, plus way back before then. Yeah, I can imagine that something's got to change. You're like, this is, guys, this
Yeah.
is 2007 or 2010. This is ridiculous. We have
Yeah,
to
exactly.
speed this up. And it worked out. Now, somewhere along the way, you did that, and you made your way down to Mississippi,
Yeah.
and then I'm sure there were some steps I'm missing along the way. I don't need to go to everything, but the big one was when you founded and you're the CEO of NextGear, which most people in this industry knew you from first.
Yeah. So I kind of started this journey of figuring out how to streamline the kind of the business of restoration, if you will. And then there were some other software companies that I was kind of using as the kind of the engine behind it. And the frustration I started to have is they were making like product changes. For anyone who remembers JPP, I actually worked for them for a little bit. And they decided that they were going to completely rewrite their software, but they were doing it in a way that I don't think like fully understood how people were using the product and what they needed. And so for me, my consulting business was at risk. I was like, gosh, if I don't have a software that can actually manage all of these different processes I want to kind of install, then I don't really have a business. And so I was like, okay, well, I should probably go start my own software company, which at the time was a really like in some ways a foolish like thing, because I've never started a software company before. I've never worked at I worked at a software company, but I wasn't like in the product creation. And so I just took what I knew that people needed, and just got the right people to help me build it.
Yeah, that's great. But what made you say, you know what, it's time for me to do my own, go off on my own, be a full entrepreneur at this point?
Yeah, so the kind of the one step that's sort of missing is when I worked for the software company, I really started to like travel the entire North America, so both the US and Canada. And I got to see all different types of operations, really profitable ones, really non-pro, ones that were struggling,
Right.
some that could make payroll, some that couldn't make payroll on a regular basis. And so I started to see themes of what made successful companies successful, and what made companies that struggle struggle. And so that's when I started to say, like, gosh, I can help more people, not just implement software, but think about how they can have a better culture and how they can have better processes that would lead to more profitability. And that's what was the kind of the foundation of Shift. And the reason why Shift was called Shift was because we wanted to shift people out of a bad situation into a good
Yeah.
situation. It had some movement to it. I don't know. It was
Okay.
yeah.
That's good. But so you went to next year. Next year was rolling along with the software, all the great stuff. And at some point, a decision was made to either be purchased basically by the very large CoreLogic.
Yeah, so there is a step in between. So we took on private equity money at the year 2016, which was really interesting. So we sold a small piece of the company, and really brought on a partner that could help us grow the business. And we went on this kind of acquisition tear. So like we were sort of, acquisitions is a really a hot topic today, and contractors are buying contractors, and there's a lot of acquisition talk. When we were like some of the first to bring private equity into the space,
Mhm.
and we started buying up other businesses before that was really that big of a thing. And so it gave us a big halo effect because we were kind of the first ones doing it, and it really helped us get probably larger faster in some ways. And so we bought 5 companies in about 3 years, stitched
Wow.
them together, became the new next year,
Mhm.
and so yeah, that was sort of the precursor to CoreLogic buying us. Our strategy was we saw CoreLogic as a potential like alternative to Verisk. And
Mhm.
then, obviously Verisk was the dominant player. And so our strategy at NextGear was to build all around them and in between them. So essentially we were, building all the things that they weren't building and all the workflow stuff for both carriers and contractors. And then, but integrating with both and being able to be kind of in between both. And that was our strategy. So we ended up doing that really successfully. And when CoreLogic went from public to private, and they kind of made us an offer we couldn't refuse to buy us,
Mhm.
it was sort of exciting because it now allowed us to like really kind of flip the way the industry was operating and kind of reimagine the whole space having that full stack of assets.
Yeah, it's amazing. I did miss a big piece of that story. That's incredible. But it was a happy ending. It worked out the way I'm
Yeah.
fascinated when this happens. You okay, so you allowed yourself to be purchased. They made you an offer you couldn't refuse. Clearly you fit really well into their portfolio.
Yeah.
But now that next year is fully integrated there, it's been a few years now. I mean, if you noticed any different applications within CoreLogic that your company was used for besides what you thought originally? I always think of that with these.
Yeah. So, um, so I'm a claims guy, and I think most of us that are probably listening to this are claims people. That's that restoration claims, like we're living these things every day. Um, but there's like a whole nother like part of like multiple other parts of insurance that I had no clue about: underwriting, global catastrophe risk, a bunch of kind of the front end of the funnel of like how insurance gets priced and rated and
Mhm.
placed, that I had zero exposure to. And now that was actually what CoreLogic was really strong in.
Mhm.
That sort of business actually dwarfed the claim size of the business, and so my kind of role has changed over the last 3 years. So now all the global insurance solution stuff rolls up through me. So that's cat risk, that's underwriting, and we work with
Mhm.
now hundreds and hundreds of insurance companies all over the world with teams all over the world. So I've had a lot of learning to do, which has kind of kept me very excited and engaged.
Well, yeah, and you look very excited. You look very like you've learned a lot. Believe me, I remember attending our editor was on maternity leave, so I had to sit in on the editorial roundtable, which wasn't uncomfortable at all between those two big editors around me. But I learned so much about the insurance, what's how important insurance was, and what your role is in trying to helping all these people out, and it's just massive. How I mean, the recent insurance, we talked that day about the possible insurance crisis in Texas. Yeah, I live down here in
Yeah,
Florida now. We all know about that.
yeah.
California's got suffering it. I mean, what is your place now to help people through these crises?
Yeah, I think our position as more carriers in every state is a good thing for everybody.
Hmm.
And so, like, how do you get carriers to come into states? So, you know, I think people would be maybe surprised to know that carriers are not very profitable right now. This is a industry that's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years and has typically been able to figure out how to be profitable. And now all of a sudden, because of climate change and the severity skyrocketing and inflation, all these things have kind of thrown these kind of models upside down. And so carriers are businesses like just like restoration companies, and
Right.
they're not going to just write insurance to be good people. That's just not what their game is. They're actual businesses. And so what a lot of people also probably don't fully understand is that carriers don't get to just set their own rates.
Hmm.
They don't get to decide, hey, free market, like let's, I get to set my prices. This is sort of a debate with the contractors too, because a lot of contractors are like, I just should just set my own rates, and but even the carriers don't get to do that. So there's a bit of like carriers have to operate within the California or the different DOI, Department of Insurance for each state. California is one that is pretty a very pro homeowner.
Hmm.
And so with the kind of one of the results by not allowing carriers to kind of get to the rate they need to is that there's the threatening to pull out or are pulling out. And so I think what you're seeing now is different DOIs, starting to get more creative, trying to figure out how can you price in climate change and the other things that we need to do to let carriers adjust the rate, hoping that more carriers come to each state, and then at least there's choice and there's competition, even if there's a little bit more aggressive rate increases.
That's excellent. Garrett's going to be talking about that and more at the experience, September 4th through the 6th at Caesars Forum in Las Vegas. Don't forget September 3rd, we have the full day workshops. Garrett specifically will be speaking as the keynote on the Thursday, the 5th. So make sure you get down to see. I'll be there. And I've seen him speak at Interconnect. I've seen him. He's very energetic. I don't want to embarrass you on this camera, but he's just a great speaker. And you don't want to miss out for exciting things. I know
This
the
one's
answer
going to
to
be a
this.
fun topic because it's about AI, which is something I'm super passionate about, and this I've been preparing for you guys, and I want to. It's going to be full of multimedia presentation, so it's not a boring slide deck.
I love it. I'm really fighting. Well, why is AI important? Asking a stupid question like that. So I'm not going to. But I think that targeted, and we're not with the people who think it's going to be the overlords that take over the world. No, this could completely manifest your business in so many ways. Specifically, what's the title of your track? Do you remember the title of your speech? And I
I
put it in
think it's.
spot.
I don't know if I know the title, but I'll tell you the essence of it.
Yes.
It's essentially the kind of I've been speaking about AI for a long time, and what I've really been trying to do is shake people into like paying attention.
Mhm.
This is a little bit less of that and more. Here's some practical ways that you can today use AI in your restoration business
Yep.
to grow your marketing, to challenge your or increase your productivity, things that are happening out in the field. So it will be a combination of things that you can get just from like chat GPT or
Mhm.
DALI 3, or there's all these different AI applications you can start playing with. Some of the stuff we're doing and some of the stuff that's happening directly in our space, but the
Mhm.
idea is to tie some of the general stuff to like, here's how you can actually improve your business today. Like you can, and at the end there'll be like a leave behind that basically has everything that we've talked about, and all the places they can go to start to using AI in their businesses today.
One of my favorite people in the industry, our friend Mary Catherine Tucker, your coworker, posted, Mike, it's building the future, harnessing AI in the restoration business. So thank you, MC, for sending me that.
MC to save the day.
She always does. You're such a sought after keynote speaker. I was so happy you said yes to come to do this because just looking to take us into the next steps in the future. And this is a talk that's just going to help. Well, we talked about how it can best utilize AI at this point. Let me ask this question. Besides seeing an excellent keynote from yourself, what should people come to Las Vegas or to the experience for that matter, in your opinion? What would be good? Why should they come down?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, the experience has always been kind of a highlight show for us, just because it was always so big, and especially when you're really focused on contractors uh, you know, also like mitigation is a big cornerstone of our history and our DNA. And I know that is, one of the target mitigators are kind of a target population for the experience. So I think mitigation is such a huge piece of what drives this industry, and the technology there is changing it so rapidly. And I don't want to steal any thunder from my keynote, but like just certain things that I remember having to do as a tech, being a technician, learning the industry, just measuring out the and diagramming the room, like the affected areas, and like they're all different iterations of you measuring tapes. You had laser things, but you still had to like input it into something and kind of you know put the relationship between the different rooms together, et cetera. And now like AI has helped us just basically take a phone and scan a room like this and then create that diagram. So there's just a ton of advancements, especially in this space. I think people can come, learn about, and it's not just us. So there's tons of companies out there doing similar things. So I think embracing technology in general is a really important part of being competitive going forward. And these sorts of experiences and conferences are a great place to learn and play with and kind of see what you can bring back to your business.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we're looking forward to people coming as well to see you and everybody. All right, here it is. We kind of let the cat out of the bag a smidgen about a half an hour ago, but what is something people will be surprised to find out about you, Garrett Gray?
Yeah. So what I was going to say is, most people don't generally know unless they've talked to me that I'm a college dropout. That I started at a junior college and then decided I was just going to kind of pursue whatever business I could pursue at the time. I've also always been a little bit of an entrepreneur. Like I was annoying as a kid. Because I was homeschooled for up until ninth grade, and so I was babysitting during like school hours for people too, and I had like business cards and I had invoices and a paid stamp, and I just was like super annoying because no one needed that. But I trying to kind of start my own business has been kind of something I've done since I was young, and I remember saying. When I dropped out of school, I remember saying, I don't care what business I'm in necessarily. I just want to own my own business. I don't know what it is. And so eventually that worked out, and the path was through restoration, which is
I think it's
really
wonderful.
cool.
You're a self-made man. I have a good friend. And most entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, are my favorite people. They just seem to be bubbly, full of energy like you and happy. Good friend of mine did this. He started about 6 or 7 businesses and finally he sold a trade show for a bunch. And everybody knows that happy ending story, but they don't realize all the grinding you got to go through. And I respect that even more. I think it's just fantastic to get where you would be. And you're certainly a credit to this industry, man. We can't wait to see you in Las Vegas.
Yeah, for those who like know me in this industry, like over time, that grinding was very apparent in my body. And so I carried a lot of I was during early days of next year, I was staying up 20 hours a day and using ice cream to fuel my nighttime work. So that didn't bode well for my body.
You don't advise that, and now you're back on the healthy. Like I said, if you haven't followed him on the different socials, it's pretty impressive, and what you're doing, that's great too. There's something to be said about that, just being healthy. Believe me, I know. I need to have some ice cream myself now. So, listen, this has been great, man. And for all of you out there, please make plans to attend the Experience Convention September 4th through the 6th at Caesars Forum in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Register right now. Through our website, rnrmagonline.com. You can find this and all R&R videos and podcasts on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Follow us if you haven't already, and feel free to leave a quick review. Also, please feel to follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn. Very special thank you to our guest, the one and only Mr. Garrett Gray. This is Trade Talks, Unlocking the Experience. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in September at the Experience. Thanks again, everybody.